Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with J. Gordon Duncan. And if you're wondering why the J, the answer is, I'm not a bagpipe player. And if that joke doesn't make any sense, I encourage you to check out episode 0, where I explain that joke, as well as the purpose of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast. It is great to see you. I'm thankful to be on your screen or in the ears, however you're doing it. And you know what? Last week, I didn't produce a full-length episode. I think it's only the third time in over 4 years where I didn't do that. Now, some of you may have gotten a very short promo. I did upload the new promo for our Capitalize Your Best program. And so thank you so much. I know that was really only a minute long, but we didn't produce an episode last week. I got caught up with my interviews, and then really what was going on, what really prevented it, was that we were putting all of our time and our energy into our John Maxwell Leadership Series No Limit Leadership Seminar last week. And it was great. It was a lot of energy. What we did, this is the second one we've done in this series. And it's where we rent a facility. If you're here local, we were at Stevenson Ridge. They're so wonderful. And they cater. And so we do breakfast, we do lunch, we do water and coffee and drinks the whole time, and even some dessert. And then we bring in fantastic speakers. And the first one we did was back in January under the John Maxwell Leadership Series. And that one was called Leadership, which was making the changes necessary for your growth or in your leadership. And then this one was called No Limits Leadership. And the idea here was to help remove the mindsets and the things that hold us back, those limiting beliefs that hold us back in our personal growth and in our leadership of others. And so leading up to last week, multiple times I was trying to get in, and I didn't have any episodes in the bank. I like to have a couple episodes in the bank, but I didn't have any. And I just couldn't get in because I want to make sure we do these well and we give them the time they deserve. And I just wasn't able to do it. We're putting all of our energy into promoting the seminar and then making sure it went really, really well. Amy just did an amazing job just making sure all the tiny details, the details that I would have missed, that they came together really well. And it was great. And one of the reasons I am speaking about that so much is I want to do a recap here for the podcast. Now, I want to let you know is that we do have each one of the 4 talks filmed, and we have a montage as well. They will be made available in various forms coming soon. But some of you weren't able to be there, and I wanted to share some of the highlights. So we had 4 speakers. Now, I was one of the speakers, so I really want to focus on the other 3. So I want to introduce who they are to you, and then I want to give you some highlights from their talks. So our first speaker was Chris Loman. And friends, Chris Loman is phenomenal. He served as the Undersecretary of the Army, and he's presently awaiting confirmation to be the Assistant Secretary of Defense for all the military in the country. The Assistant Secretary of Defense. Everything has gone through. He's done his Senate examinations. You can go on C-SPAN and watch it. And so at this point in time, it's a bit perfunctory, but just as soon as it can get to the confirmation vote and they vote on it, he will be sworn in and be the Assistant Secretary of Defense. Chris is a friend. He was very gracious to speak. Just phenomenal. Our second speaker was Mary Tanis, and you guys know her. She's been on the show here 3 times, I believe. And since we moved to this format, she's been on here twice. We did a dual interview with someone else, and then we did a solo interview with her. So those were just, she's been on the show a good bit. But she was speaking. She is an international business coach, insanely accomplished. She's the vice president of client success at Patriots Tax. So she spoke. Our third speaker, you guys have also met before, who is Susan Coleman. She is also a personal coach through John Maxwell, and she's presently the director of marketing at Spotsy Regional Hospital. And then I spoke. So we had this incredible lineup. and they were going to address the limits that we place on ourselves that hinder our growth and hinder us when we're leading others. So, for anybody who wasn't there, I wanted to do a sort of a recap, or at least the things that I took away from it. I know each one of these folks, but I sat there and just took notes after notes. It was such good content. It was amazing. And at the end, we did like a panel discussion. I love these things. And tentatively, my friends, pencil in September 30th. We're going to have our next one. And already I'm getting feedback from others. And I'm also getting suggestions for our topics. So when that launches, I'm sure I will let you know. But right now, what I'd like to do is just kind of share. I took some notes. I consolidated my notes into some points that I think will be helpful for you, so that whether you were there or not, or whether you watched the videos or not when we launched them, here's a couple things you can take away. So Chris Loman, Assistant Secretary of Defense, he walked through his public service career in the military and then working in the government. And there were so many things he took away there. It's just difficult to to consolidate it. And he talked about the year that he spent over in Afghanistan. He went over and spent a year there helping with infrastructure rebuilding. And he would literally be helping with things like building hospitals. And he'd have 30 representatives from 30 different countries there as well. And so he is helping mobilize that task force to oversee the rebuilding of the infrastructure in Afghanistan. And Chris was telling us, he's like, listen, I've got experience here, here, and here, but he doesn't have any experience in the healthcare field specifically. He knows how to mobilize, he knows how to organize, but healthcare was not something that he really had experience in. So he had to figure out how to do that. And again, he mobilized 30 different people from 30 different countries, doctors and nurses and people who knew how to build this thing. He knew how to mobilize them and help them continue in the rebuilding process in Afghanistan. And he did this quote, and I've read it over and over again, trying to make sure I understand it. But his quote was this. His quote was, "You can't boil the ocean. You can't boil the ocean." And I've worked really hard to try to understand exactly what he meant by that. But here's my takeaway in the midst of his talk. I mean, you can't boil the ocean. Why? It's too big. You just can't raise the temperature of the entire ocean to 212 degrees. It's not possible. And that would be a fruitless task. It would be a frustrating task. And I feel like what he was trying to communicate to us as individuals and as leaders is that sometimes what we do is we take on a task that's too big instead of breaking the task down into the individual things that we actually do have control over. And so when we get control over the individual things, then we make progress towards the larger things. So for you, let's say you have a massive goal, right? Maybe the goal is, the amount of money you want to make, or maybe it's a personal health goal, and it's a big, massive goal. You can't go do that one goal without breaking it down into these smaller tasks. Otherwise, what you're trying to do is boil the ocean. What can you do? Well, you can do individual things that make impact, that lead towards larger goals. And so that's why we often get frustrated and quit when we're working towards large goals. We're like, you said a New Year's resolution, which by May, many of us have ditched. I'm still on mine, by the way. I hope you are too. It's not too late to restart again. But the whole idea is we might have this big, giant goal. Maybe it's like, I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, you can't lose 50 pounds immediately. That might be a great goal for you personally. But that goal is too big for one thing. So what do? You boil it down to individual tasks. I can lose 1 pound a week. You might say, I want to be a millionaire, whatever your financial goal is. Great, you're not going to be a millionaire instantly, but what can you do individually to control that moment, and you can have a mindset shift where I can do this one thing and it moves towards the larger goal. And that's what Chris did when he was over in Afghanistan. And so I've had that quote in my head since last week. You can't boil the ocean. Gordon, you can't boil the ocean. So I have my big goals, but I don't get overwhelmed by them, because I can break them down into individual things that I can do. And I can accomplish that individual goal. I can feel good about it and know I'm making progress towards the bigger goal. Phenomenal. And I think maybe I've heard that quote before. I don't know. But it made impact on me. I think it made impact on others. We talked about it in the panel discussion. But Chris, we walked away from that. Just, you can't boil the ocean. Thought it was fantastic. Well, then Mary spoke. And Mary was just phenomenal, as she always is. And she shared a lot about her background, about coming to America from Jordan and not speaking the language and not being able to type like other people were typing, and what she had to do. She shared this great story about, she didn't know how to type when she got here. And everyone else is over there just clacking away, right? And she didn't know how to type. And she literally got a keyboard that wasn't even attached to a computer and taught herself how to type. It was a phenomenal picture of not being held back. As you can imagine, that was you. You go to a class, you don't speak English. You don't speak English well. Forgive me if I said she doesn't speak English. Maybe she had some grasp of the language. Forgive me. But you're in a classroom where the jokes don't make sense and the comments maybe are difficult and everybody's clacking away, and you don't know how to do those things. So she literally found a keyboard. It wasn't even plugged into a computer, and taught herself how to type. And that determination, she wasn't held back by that thing that she couldn't do. She addressed it and tackled it. Meant a lot. And she talked about the power of belief. The power of belief. Believing that you can do something. And I know for many of us, that's where we struggle. Well, I just don't believe I can do it. I don't believe I can do it. And so she gave, I believe it was 7 steps along the way that we can address those things. And one of them I loved. One of them was acknowledge that you are in control of your life. Acknowledge that you are in control of your life. Quite often we interact as if we're not. And granted, there are things we can't control. Right now, I can't control the gas is $4.46, right? I cannot control that, right? I can't control certain health conditions, at least to a certain extent. But I'm the one who's in control of my life. I'm deciding when I'm waking up, when I'm going to bed. I'm the one who's deciding what diet is going on in my brain. What am I putting in my brain, right? I'm the one who controls whether I get up and move around. Yes, there are factors that are outside of our control, or factors that might limit the amount of control we have. But when I acknowledge that I have control of my life, then I'm acknowledging that the steps forward or the lack of steps I might take in a day are mine. It takes us from a victim mentality to a I'm in control of my life mentality. And she shared wonderful stories along the way, both personal and with people that she has coached along the way, about people who have done that. It was a phenomenal talk, and that one takeaway just stuck in my head. Remember, no matter what, if I'm frustrated by things that are happening, if I'm frustrated by circumstances, I understand. I can be frustrated by them. However, I've got to acknowledge that I'm the one who is in control of my life. I'm the one who gets to make decisions about what I do and don't do. And it was a phenomenal recentering for me. And I hope it was for everybody in the crowd, and I hope it is for you. It really connects well to what Chris said. Breaking down these large tasks into individual tasks, and remembering, according to Mary, that we're the ones who have control over that 100%. 100%. Well, then Susan came up and spoke, and I've heard Susan speak many times, and I'm telling you what, this was probably, and she's always made an impact. This is probably one of the ones, her talks that I've enjoyed the most, just smooth and making just an impact in each point. She always does that. She always does, but it felt like this one was just impacting me in ways that I hadn't. And she gave this quote, and it was in the midst of her, she was talking about being like just limitless. That's what she's talking about. The whole idea was like, how do we become limitless? And she gave this quote: when we are seeking to become limitless, when we want to seek to remove the things that are holding us back, we have to decide what to bury and what to carry. when we're seeking to remove limits in our life and become limitless, we have to decide what to bury and what to carry. What that means is we have to mentally go, okay, I don't need to carry that burden anymore, but this one I do have to carry. We have to decide internally, that's a burden I need to carry. And sometimes we're like, that's a burden I don't need to carry. Like, I'll give you an example. Sometimes we carry the burden of other people that we just don't have to. We worry so much about it. And sometimes it's a matter of just saying, it's their decision to make. It's their choices. We can love them, but I don't have to carry that burden. They're the ones making that choice. That comes up a lot in parenting. It really does. Watching our children grow and make their own decisions, and we go, oh, that's such a bad decision. And we love them, and we go, but you know what? As they get older, we have to let them carry their own burdens, and we have to look at it and go, I'm going to love them, but I don't have to carry that. That is their choice. That one is so hard. It really is. But what freedom there is when we begin to realize, wait a minute, there's some burdens I do need to carry, and there's some burdens I need to bury. There's some things I do need to focus on, there's some things I don't. And the wisdom to choose what things to carry and what things to bury. You know, going all the way back to what Chris said and to what Mary said, Chris couldn't make every decision in Afghanistan. He couldn't. What was his burden to carry? Leadership over the 30 other representatives. That was his burden, right? And then Mary would tell us, okay, wait a minute. You're in control. You get to decide. And then Susan told us, and you get to decide what burden to carry and which one to bury. When we got to my talk, I'm not going to focus on that quite as much. It encapsulated a lot of those other things. I talked about the power of mindset, the power of mindset over self, the power of my mindset in community, and the power of mindset as it reflected with achievements. And I might go into that a little bit more on another episode, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to let us know that you have the power of mindset, specifically about yourself, that moves into others, and then that deals with your personality. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is take up our next episode to go deeper into that. But I didn't want to just overwhelm you with information. Really, friends, thank you for everyone who came out to the No Limits Leadership Conference. It meant a lot to me. I can't wait to have our next one on September 30th. When the videos are made available in whichever form we offer them, I hope they are encouraging to you. But I really appreciate you being here and your faithfulness in listening or watching to the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast every single week. So friends, thank you so much. And again, if you want to learn more about our coaching and what I'm doing, I'd encourage you to go to capitalizeyourbest.com. That's capitalizeyourbest.com. That's where we're offering transformative coaching that is specifically geared towards helping you increase your revenue. That's where our focus is of our coaching right now. So folks coming into us and saying, I need more leads and I need new revenue. Well, we have an entire section in our coaching process that deals with issues like this. Mindset. We start there first. And so if you're interested in that program, please go check out capitalizeyourbest.com or just find me on all the social medias and reach out to me. Again, thanks so much, friends. If you've enjoyed this, share this episode out on your social media platforms or in your stories. Like it, leave a comment, leave a review. Those things mean so much. Thanks so much, and I will see you next week in our next episode. Thanks, friends. Bye-bye.
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.
Small business owners, you should be praised for wanting to grow your business. That's a good thing, and not everybody has the guts to do it. As a business owner myself, I know you've overcome obstacles that people don't even know about. Hi, my name is Gordon Duncan, the owner of Capitalized Marketing and Consulting, and I want you to know that if your business hasn't grown like you want it to, it's not your fault. If it's not COVID getting in the way, it's ridiculous things like changing social media algorithms. You're right in thinking that very few people are doing smart small businesses any favors right now. But Capitalize Marketing and Consulting is here to help. We've created a 90-day course that is guaranteed to grow the revenue of your business. It will give you the tools that you've been looking for, and as a certified coach, I would be with you along the way. If you would like to learn more about our program, just visit CapitalizeYourBest.com and get started enjoying the success you deserve. Again, that's CapitalizeYourBest.com, and I can't wait to celebrate all you accomplish.